You're listening to Served Up, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful conversations. I'm your host, Bridget Albert, also known as a Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with decades of experience. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry. Hey, y'all, it's Bridget here. Welcome to our Served Up New Orleans series, where the vibrant spirit of hospitality comes alive through the voices shaping the beverage culture. From passionate brand ambassadors and dedicated bartender resource activists to even a world-renowned burlesque dancer, this diverse lineup brings us a unique blend of expertise, creativity, and charisma. These conversations dive deep into the craft, challenges, and culture behind our communities that make hospitality truly unforgettable. Join us as we celebrate the heart and soul of hospitality that never stops inspiring. Hey y'all, it's Bridget here. Get ready to sip, sway, and be mesmerized by Queen Lexxe, the enchanting Absinthe brand ambassador who knows how to make spirits sing. Folks, literally, she sings. A whirlwind of storytelling, performance, and she brings magic, music, and a hint of mystery to every glass that she touches. In this lively conversation, Queen Lexxe shares her love of the Green Fairy, her creative adventures, and why a little bit of absinthe always makes life more colorful. Lexxe, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm so excited that you brought me a cocktail.
I brought you gifts.
So, what is this? What are we having?
This is the Green Beast. It is 2 or 3 muddled cucumbers, about 2 ounces of absinthe. I sometimes do a little more. Lime and simple syrup. So, cheers.
Oh my God, it's so refreshing.
It's good. It's good. We did them yesterday. We did a activation where we did snowballs of this. So it was basically.
Oh my gosh, so delicious. Yes, this is so well balanced and so wonderful. And a lot of times folks don't think about absinthe as an actual ingredient in a cocktail, right? We just think about it, going through a drip.
Right, through the ritual. I think one of the first times, actually the first time I had absinthe, I was at a show called Sleep No More in New York City, which I don't know if you have seen or heard about it, but it was like this very cool version of Macbeth, but it was in an Alfred Hitchcock 1930s. Like, it felt like a speakeasy, and like there was like incense everywhere. It felt like you traveled through time. And the first thing that was offered to me was free because I was one of my friends was in the show, so I had like people giving me free stuff, which thanks God. But it was a death in the afternoon, so it was a little bit of absinthe with some champagne, and I was shocked. I was like, "What is in this? That's not just champagne." Because I saw the bubbles, and they said absinthe, darling, and I was like. And I think that ignited my love for it.
Wow, that's a really good start. And you represent a spirit that is so bold and so legendary. Yeah. How did your journey really begin in the world of absinthe, and what drew you in?
Yeah. So as a kid, I was very, very inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, and I loved Gothic romance, and I'm a ballerina, so I loved... Yeah! I grew up as a dancer. Oh my gosh, I got you. Okay. I grew up doing ballet. I was around a lot of French people. So just French traditions in general, things that align themselves with like the Moulin Rouge and like all this other stuff, just speaks to my personality. Went to school for dance, ended up realizing I really wanted to be a rock star. So then I stopped doing ballet and completely restarted my life just to be able to finally write the poems I wanted to write, be my own kind of Oscar Wilde. And I found myself at a place called Company 14, which we lovingly call Company XIV, which is like an off-Broadway Moulin Rouge of Brooklyn. Like somebody came from the Moulin Rouge on Broadway and said, this is the real Moulin Rouge, and it's just inspired by Louis XIV, and we had a lot of absinthe drinks there, and I was a bartender, I was a singer, and the more I had it, the more I associated it with the art and underbelly of almost every city, and it just really spoke to me in that way, so I started using it to write music with, and
really?
I wrote You're not going to hallucinate. I think you'll hallucinate if you drink enough of anything, but
of anything.
of anything.
Let's be real.
Be real. But it definitely, people say tequila has you a different type of buzz. Whiskey has a different kind of buzz. So for me, absinthe had a creative type of buzz. I don't know if it's a placebo, but it works for me. Worked for lots of people. And I wrote my first EP, Meet Me in the Shadows, and I had an absinthe pool on the record cover and was drinking absinthe, and I was always drinking Absente. It was the easiest one to find. I had tried it in the city, and I liked it a lot. And then I ended up accumulating a lot of content or a lot of art that involved the bottles because I thought they were so pretty. So it would be like me, but I wasn't a brand ambassador. I was just doing it because I liked it. And one day I got to the point where I needed a sponsor for a party, and I'm this like independent artist lady from Brooklyn, and I just DM'd them on Instagram, and somebody emailed me back right away, and they were like, well, we really like your project. Can you tell us more about you? And that's kind of how it happened. So I'm totally left field in this liquor business, but like love it so much that it's very easy for me to talk about it.
Well, I do think that you have one of the most interesting categories to represent
I'm excited.
All the spirits. This one is like terribly romantic, tragic, and all of the things, right?
Yeah, it's terribly romantic. I love that.
It's true. Yeah. So absinthe, it has such a long history associated with, like you said, artists and rebels and really like visionaries, and everybody is a storyteller within all of those categories. And so with that said, are there elements of performance and storytelling that overlap between your role as a brand ambassador and a musician?
Definitely. So for me, I started aligning myself with romantic authors and with this kind of spiritual, this underbelly of gothicness, that there's always like an absinthe fountain in the corner and Dorian Gray walks by and he's not aging. And it's this like world that people like to live in. And I think that speaks to kind of the first experience I had with absinthe, which was I smelled frankincense. I had this gorgeous cocktail. People were walking around in time era gowns, and it just brings me somewhere else. And I really love that about it. And whenever I make music and I make experiences and music videos, I really want to bring people somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So branding wise for me as a brand, it makes the most sense for me to have the spirit that, one, I love the most, but two, it's green. First of all, love green. And green. I am into this gothic world, and people hear absinthe and they're like, oh my gosh, like Van Gogh's cutting his ear off and vampires are drinking it, and it already is associated with some sort of otherness, which then speaks to, I came out in like 2017, very late, when I was like in my 20s of the closet. So I was aligning with Oscar Wilde and Tchaikovsky and all these like secret little places, and absinthe also was such a little secret, which was so cool, and I aligned in that way as well.
That's really amazing.
Thank you. Performance-wise, it's always easy to incorporate it in a visual that I make just because it's so beautiful and tragically romantic, like you said before. And also, I like doing the ritual on camera. I like doing the ritual in my shows. I'll have a fountain with me sometimes at the merch table, and I'll show people about it just because it's kind of an experience. And I think for me, concerts should be more of an experience than just you wait in line and you just like get thrown around.
Well, let's talk about the ritual, because I think a lot of folks that are watching this or even listening to us, right, might be like, what is she talking about?
Right.
What is that?
So the ritual is, actually, I had one of the complete honors of meeting with Antoine, who is part of the family that is still working at Distillery du Provence in France. Hope I didn't butcher that name. I'm from Long Island. And he was telling me that absinthe was used in one of the wars to cleanse the water. So soldiers would have it like a little bit in like a flask or something, and they'd find water that was probably dirty, put a little absinthe in it, make sure that they didn't catch malaria or anything that was around that time. And when they got home, they were like, I kind of miss that like absinthe stuff that we mixed with water. So it is a really strong, I think this one is 110 proof. Yeah, absinthe 110. So drinking this straight is diabolical. And you can if you want, but I mean, I don't. Sometimes I do. Rough days. But the ritual is just something to replicate that. So they started realizing that the slower you drip water, the colder you drip water into the spirit, the better it creates this louche, which is when the water mixes with the liquor and makes this beautiful cloudy thing, which you can kind of see in this cocktail. It's not a little bit, but it's that milky look that you see. So essentially you'll have a fountain. Sometimes there's 4 spouts. You will use sugar to cut down the liquor. Place a sugar cube on top of an absinthe spoon, which all of the Absinthe boxes come with. They're all beautiful. I often wonder, where do all the spoons go? Because there's a spoon in every box. I have like 20. So it would be basically spoon, sugar, drip. Nice, slow ritual, which can be meditative for people. You're used to getting your drink right away, but you have to kind of wait for it, and it makes you think, and I think that's also pretty beautiful about it. And, yeah, you get a really beautiful, milky, clean absinthe drink.
Yeah, I feel like originally with the absinthe drip, you know, with all the artists and the musicians, and we go back to like Paris, right? So you're in Paris, and they would have these lounges, and of course they were enjoying things, not just absinthe, right?
Yes,
other things as well. But it was so. It was like theater.
Yeah, ethereal.
Right? It's like theater, just to do the ritual. Yeah. Something to watch, right? That's to make you feel like so special in that moment.
Yeah.
And it's also very communal.
Yes, there's 4 at once, yeah.
Yeah, so you could share it with your friends, and you could watch the whole thing happening, and it was a slow drip.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that it just got you really anxious and like excited to take that sip.
Totally, right before it gets there. In this day and age, you're kind of like swiping so fast. Like people's attention spans are a little harder to grasp, so the act of like sitting with people waiting for your drink to come instead of just give me a drink is really, really special, but hard to come across. And I think you touched on a really good point that when you see the absinthe fountain, everyone asks what it is.
Yes.
They're like, what is that? That looks so cool. I have one in my living room, and it has like a fairy under it. My fiance got it for me and her. But every time we have people over, they all want to do it, and we end up talking about it, and then we end up talking about art. I think that, you know, the word spirit is so interesting because it is a spiritual act when you drink, because your body kind of lets go a little bit, and you can, I don't want to get too woo-woo, but, you know, spirits are kind of the same thing. So the spirit of absinthe is an artistic spirit for sure.
For sure. And it has such like this rebel edge.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, because there was a time, you know, in France where it was absolutely shut down. It was prohibited. In the United States, we weren't allowed to have it either. And I felt totally cool. It was, I think, just like 2 years before it was legalized. Yeah. And I brought in a bottle from Italy. And I thought that it was like so badass. I'm like, oh, you're like, I'm a rebel. No one else in the United States has absinthe, but I have it here in my small town. That's so cool. You know, I just felt like it's just so neat.
Rebellious.
You know, you feel like a little naughty kind of having it. So it has like this whole cloak around it of, you know, just
rebel
being
spirit,
rebel and mysterious. And, oh, no, if I drink too much, I'm going to see a fairy, you know, chasing me down the street or whatever it
or something's going to, you're going to write a novel. Yeah, I agree. I love that rebel spirit. I feel like I have it. I always joke that I started off in the classical world and I dabbled in being in the rock world, but that was just me kind of figuring it out. Now I've moved towards a Stevie Nicks-y, Depeche Mode type of world with my music, but in general, I did rebel against the classical upbringing. I did rebel against, I guess, like societal norms just by accepting my queerness, but like absinthe is a similar thing, and I think people that liked absinthe because of its rebel spirit commune together, and I think it's cool that this brand in particular, they let me do the craziest things with this absinthe. They'll be like, do whatever you want. You want to have like 2 dudes just like a fairy from Berlin? We'll do it. Like the spirit of absinthe would say yes. And I think you're kind of speaking to all the things that I love and that like led me to these people. And the banning of absinthe still feels real to me, even though it's not true anymore. But I remember the first time I had it, I was like, oh my God, isn't this banned? And it was definitely after it was legal in the US. But people still think that. Every time I do an event with it, they're like, oh my gosh, are you allowed to have it? Or does it have wormwood in it? And, you know, the amount of wormwood in the past potentially was not FDA or don't hallucinate approved. So I can't tell anyone that they didn't hallucinate in the past. But you definitely won't hallucinate on the amount of wormwood in Absinthe. I'm kidding.
Can you talk about it being a secondary ingredient in cocktails? We start off with this really cool cocktail, and because I think a lot of folks don't really understand maybe how to mix it, how to use it, and how it can really enhance, right, the other flavors that are in a drink.
I really, really love just a little bit of absinthe. Like, we have these little droppers that I'll drop a little bit into my gin and tonic. There is a way for you to use this absinthe that isn't just drinking it through the drip. I've reimagined a lot of cocktails. Yesterday I had an espresso martini where...
I did too.
Okay,
I was at your event and I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
I thought it was so delicious.
The peppermint comes out.
It really does.
Yeah, there's so many different botanicals in the absinthe that it can speak to whatever you're drinking. So my favorite thing to mix it in is a gin gimlet. So any type of gin, I'll add like 0.5 or just like a little bit of absinthe. I like just feeling how much I want. But any type of elderflower liqueur, any type of cardamom. There's a thyme liqueur that this distillery has that is so good. It's called Farigold. Definitely try it out. Thyme liqueur, crazy. It can be an addition to any cocktail, and I do think it makes it feel elevated and very strange. It's kind of like chartreuse, where you're like, what is that? And you want to ask about it. It doesn't have to be as off-putting as some people find it. They're like, oh, no, I'm not taking the absinthe. It's going to taste like anise or whatever. But I've found ways to make it mix with other cocktails that make it super palatable. And not palatable, I find it super palatable, but super accessible to people. Yeah. I had a pineapple margarita once where we just added a little bit in, like an ounce. And it gave it an edge, but still felt like a summer refreshing drink. It didn't feel like, oh my God, I'm drinking absinthe.
I bet that it really balances out the sweetness of the pineapple.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because it's
that
not
herbaceousness.
Super sweet. I'm like, I don't know if I was a fairy in a past life or a cow. Oh my gosh, thank you.
Gosh, I think you were.
Wait, one time I saw a medium and she said the same thing.
Yeah.
She was like,
I'm not a medium, but I
feel well, you might be. Well, I love eating flowers and botanicals. Like, if I go outside and there's an edible flower in the garden, I'm eating it. And my fiance always laughs at me. She's like, this was a garnish on our steak. Why did you eat the hibiscus? And I'm like, I've worked in the service industry. I know I can eat this flower.
And I was a fairy in my past life.
Not like chewing on flowers. But I think that's why I was drawn to it, too. There's so many. There's the wormwood. There's peppermint. There's anise. Oh, it's so good.
I mean, it is so complex. Now, if your music was a cocktail, right?
Yeah.
Made with absinthe.
Yeah.
What would be in it?
Okay.
And what would it say about who Lexxe is?
Okay. Okay, so I used to be an old-fashioned girl. Like, I was just old fashions every day or Jack Daniels and Coke. I was like from Long Island. My stepdad's a rock guy. So I do love mixing absinthe and whiskey.
Nice.
And the company I work for, Company XIV, my boss made this drink. His name's Austin McCormick. It was, I forget the name of it, but it was bourbon, absinthe. We used Absinthe, and lavender liqueur.
Okay.
Shaken on the rocks. And it was an amalgamation of two complete opposites where, like, I do have one side of me tattooed. I symbolically did not tattoo this side because I'm still, one, my mom asked me not to, and two, I'm still kind of stuck on this classicalism that I grew up with. So sometimes I'll see them and be like, oh man, like, I don't want them anymore. I want to be a ballerina again. And other days I'll wake up and be like, bourbon. So I think it was cool that it was a bourbon and absinthe, which to me feels lighter and more elegant, and just lavender to balance it out. Bourbon, absinthe, lavender fairy, Lexxe. And you had one more question.
And, what would it say about you?
I think it would say that I'm a good balance of edge and curiosity.
Amazing. Have you had a lot of challenges as a brand ambassador repping in absinthe?
Yeah.
And talk about that. Like, what are they and how have you really overcome them? Because I think a lot of people watching this would be very curious, especially if they've never tried it before, and asking maybe a lot of those questions that you've been asked.
I think a lot of the questions, I can give you an example. At my first ever event that Absinthe sponsored, we had tastings of the absinthe. We also had the fountain so people could add water to it. We also had simple syrup just to do a quicker version of the ritual so people would be able to try it without being horrified. But some people came up and immediately would say, this was before I was the brand ambassador, but I was already kind of acting as come to me, because I was sitting at the table and you get to meet me and talk about it. And they would say, oh, no. Like, my friend tried absinthe in, like, Vienna, and they, like, talk about how it was the worst night of their life. And I was like, well, if you disrespect the absinthe will disrespect you.
Oh, look at that.
So do not disrespect the absinthe.
Put that on a T-shirt.
Right? That's what I think. So that night, I got a couple people to try it. But some people who I think disrespect liquor in general, which is a whole other conversation, would come and just pour it in shot glasses and taste it. And I think those are the types of instances where you'll have a really bad experience just because you're like, oh, this liquor, it's free. It was free that night.
Right.
So with any spirit, if you like, I would never do a shot of gin. That sounds just diabolical. But why would you do that with absinthe? Why would you do that, without something that you wouldn't normally do it? And I think in general, there's this stigma around it. I'm going to hallucinate. It's going to taste like my mom's old anise candy, and it's going to be hot and gross. And I think with the cocktail culture and the way that it's booming right now, being able to include it in places that it wouldn't seem normal, like the espresso martini yesterday, is super exciting. And then also the reason why they made luminescent, it's basically first of all, if we put a light under it, it will glow in the dark, which is very fun.
That's amazing.
So the shots glow in the dark, but it also already has sugar and it already is cut. So it is easier to use this on the rocks with a little water than doing the whole ritual. It's kind of a ritual in a bottle. I don't know if you want to try it on its own. This one is way more forgiving and more of a beginner's try at absinthe. So I think it's cool that they are already in the know that, okay, this is not an easy spirit to sell. And I think it's cool to think about moving it from the niche of the rebels that drink it into the
mainstream.
And it's possible because mainstream always wants a little bit of rebel. They're always like, oh, I had this like weird thing one time and I want to do it again.
I agree. Can we talk a little bit about Van Gogh?
Yeah. So I think Van Gogh is a beautiful part of the absinthe history, but also one of the reasons why people ran away from it, because a lot of people blamed, there's a famous instance where he cut his own ear off to send to a lover, I believe. And
now why would we send an ear to a lover? Can we just pause there for one second? Van Gogh, what were you thinking?
I don't know. He was like, he was not thinking.
No, he wasn't thinking.
He was not thinking. And he probably, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but he probably had some opium. I don't know if he was just drinking absinthe. However, people were like, oh, that Van Gogh, oh, this Oscar Wilde, they're all doing crazy things. And Van Gogh in particular was in and out of mental asylums. However, some of his greatest work was created in those places.
Yep.
And I think that's why Absinthe wanted to choose Van Gogh for the face of the brand, just because he was someone afflicted by something that he had no control over at the time, or maybe didn't have enough access to help for what was going on, and definitely drank absinthe and got a bad rep. He gave absinthe a bad rep. So it's almost funny and like, it's ironic. It's ironic.
Don't you
think?
think?
The face. Yeah. Because he's the reason why people are like, oh, don't drink that. You'll cut your ear off. But they wanted to embrace the zany history of such a profound figure in art and make you look a little closer, because even the designs kind of are in a Van Gogh type style, just to make you remember that these people made things that we won't forget. And I think absinthe is something we won't forget.
Yeah. Did you want to sing us a song?
Ooh, okay. I will.
I'm putting her on the spot.
I've been getting better at My La Vie en Rose.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. Okay.
I am so I have a friend named Nikki Dahl. Shout out Nikki Dahl. She is basically the head of Drag Race in France. So
stop it.
Yes, she is cool. I want to get her.
RuPaul's Drag Race?
Yeah, so she's essentially RuPaul, but in France. So when she comes to America, she gets to chill. When we go to France with her, she's like, I can't go on the street. And I'm like, girl, what? It's true. She performed at the Olympics this past year.
Gosh.
She's really cool. But whenever I sing in French, she's like, you don't have to sound like a French person. It's okay that you are an American girl with singing French. But I'll give you a little bit. Where is it? Should I just go?
Yeah.
Okay. This is so crazy. I used to be afraid to sing in front of my mom. I would like close the shutters and be like Phantom of the Opera. No, it's fine. Here we go. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, elle me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. Il me dit des mots d'amour, des mots de tous les jours, et ça me fait quelque chose. Il est centré de mon cœur une part du bonheur dont je connais la cause. Should I finish it?
Yeah.
Okay. C'est lui pour moi, moi pour lui dans la vie. Il me l'a dit, la juré pour la vie. Et dès que je l'aperçois, alors je sens en moi mon cœur qui bat. Thank you for letting me scream in your... Yeah.
Brava! Brava! That was amazing. And this is what Absinthe does.
Right?
Folks. That's what
I
makes
think.
you sing.
I know,
it makes you dance.
Right.
It
amazing
improves your
epics.
art. I mean, I'm just going to give it the best promo ever. It's
Thank
just
you so much.
amazing.
I really appreciate it.
Incredible. What do you hope that folks, after they try Absinthe, what do you hope that they take away from it? What do you hope that they remember?
I hope that they remember that all of us were created to create. Somebody, and there's some lore about who actually created absinthe. There's a doctor, and then there's also a woman, which we can get to. But whatever you create will be here for a really long time. So why not create it with people, just like the ritual says to do? And why not create something that's unlike anything else? I think it, in the long run, takes you apart from everyone. Absinthe is unlike anyone else. It's not like vodka. It's not like gin. And it will have a legendary pull towards it. So be something different.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on Served Up.
You're excited. I feel so honored. I'm just a ballerina that loves some liquor.
You're the second ballerina that's been on our show.
That brings me joy.
No, for real. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
It's absolutely amazing, and you're just a pleasure.
Thank you.
Where can our listeners and viewers find you and Absinthe?
So you can find me. I'm Queen Lexxe, Queen spelled regularly, Queen, Lexxe, Lexxe, on Instagram, everywhere else. And then Absinthe is Absinthe_Absente, Absinthe on Instagram. You'll probably be able to find them if you look at my Instagram, because I'm probably drinking it immediately. And it is available all over the U.S.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on Served Up. I just want to wish you just some great health and a lot of peace.
Cheers to you. Cheers to you. Thank you for having me. I'm very, very honored. Let's go to Paris.
I want to meet your friend.
Please meet my friend. Absolutely. You can have her on.
Okay, I'm going to.
We can have Nikki Doll on. Absolutely.
Cheers. Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.